What's up, guys? Welcome to another T-Bucky Films movie review, and by another one, I mean my second one ever. I want to start by addressing the concerns about me swaying side to side, and I have a very good reason for that. You can never be too ready. Damn it. Shit. My hand is stuck. Why did I do this? Now, I'm here today to talk about a very special movie to my heart. I felt like I couldn't just record this one in the comfort of my own home. I needed to get out a little bit. It's easy to talk about a movie from the comfort of your home or your apartment, but it's another thing to get down and deep, to get really in the headspace of the creators of a movie. I decided to go all the way to Paris, France. Hey, I'm T-Bucky Films, and I came all the way to Paris to talk about Under Paris.
On a un signal.
Under Paris is about a shark that gets trapped in the Seine, and a bunch of people try to free it. That's pretty much it. Except no, there's a $1 billion triathlon going on, and the mayor wants nothing to do with this whole shark business. Except things go from bad to worse, of course, when the scientists realize that not only is this just a regular shark, it's some freak mutated hybrid saltwater freshwater shark that's invaded. Will they be able to save the day and the poor triathletes? Will the evil mayor get what's coming to her? Will the evil sharks be exterminated? No, and unfortunately no. Yes, it's that kind of movie. I'll start by saying this movie is just kind of meh. It's really not that awful, but there's not too many things special about it, to be honest. Unfortunately, the worst thing about this movie is the CGI and the awful action sequences. Unfortunately, the shark just looks so unrealistic, and when you're making a shark movie, that's kind of a problem. The shark also only has 2 speeds. It's either just kind of floating there ominously while the characters look at it, or it's going warp speed. It honestly didn't look too bad when it was like an up-close shot of the shark either. It was just kind of like generic CGI, but for some reason, the second it started moving, it just looked like it was a PS1 video game. They also do this thing for some reason. Every time the shark goes from standing still to moving, it plays this stupid sound effect that sounds like a woman screaming. And I think it's the equivalent of like the Insidious movies where there's a jump scare and they play like the really loud violin. It's the exact same thing, except it's like a woman screaming. It makes no sense for a shark to be moving. Sharks don't even make sounds. Look it up, they don't. There's also a lot of shark like growling sounds throughout the movie, I've noticed. They literally make no sounds. I think the only sound, I looked it up, is like a chomping sound with their jaws. A bad-looking shark would be okay if the action sequences were at least a little decent. The whole premise of the movie is that there's a shark in an area where there isn't supposed to be sharks. Like, you could at least do something interesting with that premise, or else just have the shark be in the ocean where sharks are. All the action scenes just boil down to the sharks eat people, which isn't really that interesting to me. Use the location that you're at to do something creative with the shark attacks. Another thing that really annoyed me about this movie, people seem to just fall into the water constantly. I think there's a scene where there's a homeless person that's set up earlier in the movie, and you're like, this guy's gonna die probably. Later in the movie, you see the guy's book floating in the river, and you're like, somehow this guy just fell into the water. Well, now I've switched over to my phone audio because my microphone died. The whole premise of the movie is a bit unrealistic to me in this day and age. The whole premise relies on like 1 or 2 people trying to convince everybody that a shark exists in the Seine. And I feel like in the modern day and age, that wouldn't be that difficult of a task. I mean, the scientist literally has a GPS tracker on the shark, and nobody believes her for some reason. They just think it fell off or whatever the hell they say. And I feel like there's so many people here in the city that it would be bound to be found by somebody and it'd be all over TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat. So I don't find it very realistic that a credible scientist who knows a thing or two about sharks, saying as her entire crew and fiance were murdered by a shark. Hey, This kind of premise makes a little bit more sense in, say, the 70s in a movie like Jaws, where there's no social media, and it's kind of just one guy trying to warn the mayor about what's going on, and he just doesn't care too much because he's got a big event going on. But there's even a point in the movie where they say a car drives into the Seine, and the driver went missing, and there's literal shark teeth marks on the door, and they still are not believing anybody that there's a shark here. Another point I wanted to make, everyone in this movie just seems super dramatic for no reason, especially the mayor. The mayor's played as like an evil villain in a Bond movie. I mean, there's even the scene that you see in like the classic 80s movies where the villain has the entire city modeled out in front of them and they're saying, this is my big plan. And she's just laughably evil. They come to her with some credible concerns about this shark, especially given that there's $1 billion triathlon, whatever the hell that means. Never heard of $1 billion triathlon that wasn't part of the Olympics. And she still wants nothing to do with it. She's kind of just like, just handle it. I don't even care. Even after there's a straight up shark massacre with the police and a bunch of civilians, she's still like, I don't care, just handle it. And then she does like a press statement where she says that there's nothing wrong, there is no shark in the Seine, and if there was, oh, that's actually a good sign because it means our rivers are clean.
Et pour le coup, que répondez-vous à tous ces activistes qui parlent de requins dans la Seine?
Non, bon alors, s'ils existent, ok. Bien, je m'en féliciterais. Ça voudrait dire que notre travail de dépollution a bien fonctionné.
There's also an activist character that is so dramatic. She just wants to save the sharks, which is understandable. But the lengths that she goes to save this one shark, well, what we think is one shark, is insane. She even goes as far as to shut the GPS tracker off of the shark that they're using to try to find the shark to help it out of the Seine. She turns it off because she's under the impression that the police and the scientists are gonna harm the shark, even though their whole goal is to get the shark out of there too. It makes no sense. And she ends up dying as a result of that. At least the mayor in Jaws was like, can you see the script?
Yeah.
At least the mayor in Jaws was just like a selfish boob. He wanted the tourist season to go well for the town. He didn't have these grand plans. Like, he wasn't a Bond villain like the mayor in this movie. He didn't seem straight up malicious. I purposely waited until now to talk about the very end of the movie because it just goes off the rails in the best way possible though. We find out that it's not just one shark or two sharks. It's literally hundreds, if not thousands of sharks that are all mutated to have kids after like 2 months. It's insane. What's their solution, you ask? Well, the mayor told them to just get it done. She didn't want to be involved at all. So what's their plan? They sneak off to blow up the fucking nests of these sharks. So they literally do a covert operation to go and bring bombs under the water to where the sharks are, and they just blow the shit up. The only problem is whoever has the detonator in their hand ends up getting eaten. So it's like this hot potato game where they're passing the detonator to the next guy, and then he gets eaten, and then the detonator goes to the next guy, and then he gets eaten, and it's insane. But this doesn't even help. This literally does not solve the problem at all, because most of the people in that dive team get eaten. And then you're left with the scientist lady, of course, and the guy police officer. I didn't take the time to learn any of these people's names. I don't remember. That's how important they were in the story. It was just those two that escaped alive. There's a boat on top that was full of volunteer police officers that didn't want to go on that expedition to blow everything up. They get shot out of the sky by the shark, who comes out of nowhere. If I remember correctly, the shark busts through the rubble, throws the boat up in the air, and all of the volunteers get eaten, or most of them, I think. Not only that, all this happens the exact same time that the triathlon starts. So of course, all those people start getting eaten. The best part for me was when all the cops decide to start driving their boats in circles around where the sharks are and just firing their assault rifles into the water. And it was actually surprisingly well shot. It was almost like an Edgar Wright movie with like the snap zooms and when they're firing the guns. It was pretty crazy, but it's a bloodbath. You see the people, the triathletes in the water, and the sharks just one by one picking them off. But does it end there? Of course not, because at the beginning of the movie, they set up that there's artillery rounds that have been unexploded in the water in the Seine. They keep warning the police officers, don't shoot into the water because you're going to detonate the explosives. They don't end up detonating explosives with the bullets. The shark ends up swimming on the bottom of the river, making the artillery rounds move up and then down and explode the entire river. And you just see bridges collapse and all the water goes everywhere. There's just complete destruction. And you might be asking yourself, how do the heroes come back from this? They don't. That's how the movie ends. The entire city of Paris floods completely, and the sharks win. The sharks take over Paris. And our movie ends with our two protagonists floating on a piece of rubble or a building or something with shark fins all around them. It's insanity. My final thoughts on the movie: the ending redeems this movie a little bit, but I still think it was overall pretty bland. It's almost like the characters think that they're in a way better movie than what they're actually in. Maybe just the actors. It's almost like they think they're in a movie with bigger stakes when there really isn't. There kind of is towards the end of the movie, but the entire movie leading up to that. The cinematography was pretty good. My only complaint would be there's too much in focus, so it kind of had that weird soap opera feel to it, but the shots were really good most of the time. I feel like that's true of a lot of poorly made Netflix movies nowadays. The cinematography is usually pretty good, but all the rest of the story and everything is just awful. The acting was just okay, nothing crazy, but I don't think there's any really bad performances. All of them are just pretty forgettable, to be honest. I didn't even remember their names. Overall, the movie seemed like a sci-fi original movie, not a Netflix original movie. It had like the same kind of story beats, but it was filmed a lot better than what sci-fi movies are filmed as. So it was like this weird, strange mix. It's kind of the worst of both worlds. Because at least the sci-fi movie originals are campy and they're almost self-aware, so they're way more entertaining. This was just... they weren't self-aware enough. It was like they're making a serious movie about mutated sharks destroying the Seine in Paris. All in all, I think I would give this movie like a 4 out of 10, maybe a 3.5 out of 10, but right now I'm sitting at a 4. Maybe after editing this, I might change my mind a little bit, and if that's the case, I'll put the updated score here, but I think I'm at a 4 out of 10, which isn't bad for what kind of movie this is. All right, I didn't think about how to end it with in Paris.
If we could build something, we go back to the Eiffel Tower.
That's not a bad idea. And we're back to the comfort of my own home. Thank you for watching. Let me know if there's any other movies you think I should review next. So hopefully this video blows up. Doubt it. I don't think there's a whole lot of Under Paris fans, but if you're out there, hit the like and subscribe button. Okay, I think that's it. I hope that's it, because I'm going to stop recording now.